This is a theory lecture for a chapter of share capital transactions. The theory is about accounting entries for share capital transaction, which is a main concept to be considered in this chapter. Accounting entries for share capital transactions. Now, as we know, shares are issued, offered to the public. Those who are interested apply for the shares. Applications are received. Application money is received. Applicants are allotted shares or their applications are sanctioned. Some of the excess applications are rejected and refunded. On allotment, the amount is demanded. Balance amount is demanded or part of the amount is demanded. And the amount that could not be demanded with allotment will be demanded in later on installments known as first call, second call, third call, but not beyond that. Now these shares are offered to the public either at par or at premium or at discount. What do we mean by share is issued at par? If the face value of share is 100, issued for 100, it is known as share is issued at par. If the face value of share is 100 and issued at 125, then 25 is the excess amount collected per share offered and allotted. That 25 is known as security premium per share or 25% security premium. Same way, if a share of 100 is issued at a price of 90, so 90 rupees are received and capital account is credited with 100, 10 is a discount. In such situation, share is issued at discount. So this is how either the shares are issued at par, issued at premium, issued at discount. We want to study the journal entry that gets recorded when the shares are issued in these various manners. First of all, I will take care of shares issued at par. How to record the entry for the amount received with application, and how the amount of application received for shares allotted gets transferred to share capital account, and how the excess application money amount is refunded. That we shall consider in the journal entries for application accounting, share application money accounting. Now on shares allotted, allotment money is demanded. That allotment money is received. For that also we shall write down the entry. And the amount could not be covered totally. All the entire face value is not collected from the members. Then the amount is to be demanded in first call, second call, final call, etc. And how the amount is demanded and received, the entries for that, how it gets recorded, that we shall study next. Now it happens when the amount is demanded with first call, amount is demanded with allotment, the amount is not received from a member. And when the amount is not received, such amount is known as calls in arrears. That amount is not paid by the member right in time. So the amount stands as calls in arrears. Subsequently, after some period, if the amount is received from members, company charge interest on the unpaid amount. That is known as interest on calls in arrears. How the journal entry for interest on calls in arrears gets recorded, how the journal entry for calls in arrears gets recorded, that also we shall discuss. Similarly, sometimes what happens? The amount demanded with allotment is total 60% of the total face value and 40% is yet to be demanded in subsequent calls. But few shareholders may pay that 40% right in advance at the time of allotment. It is known as calls received in advance. How this calls received in advance gets adjusted when the first call, second call gets due from such shareholders, and the interest on calls in advance is to be paid by the company. How the accounting entries for that gets recorded, that also we shall discuss. Now we shall also record the entries for when shares are issued at premium. We shall also record the entries when the shares are issued at discount. And suppose that calls are in arrears, repetitive reminders are made for recovery of the calls, shareholder is not paying. In such situation, after giving an opportunity of being heard, the shares held by such defaulting members are forfeited. How to write the forfeiture entry? And after forfeiture, when the shares are reissued, how the entries gets recorded. So forfeiture and reissue entries that I shall explain with theory in detail by taking a practical sum from the exercise. So forfeiture and the reissue of shares, it's theory, and the application of theory will be taken care of in the next lecture. Now let me start. Accounting entries for share capital transaction. Company can issue shares in the following 3 ways. Just observe and read. Shares issued at par. Company issues the shares at a price equal to the face value. It is said that the company has issued the shares at par. For example, if the company issues equity shares of 100 each at rupees 100, the subscriber of our share has to pay 100 to a company, and the company receives rupees 100 and company credits 100 to share capital. That is known as shares issued at par. Next. Issue of shares at premium. Shares issued at premium implies that issue price of the share is higher than the face value. The excess of issue price over the face value of a share is called security premium. For example, if a share of face value 100 issued at 125, it is said that share has been issued at a premium of rupees 25 per share, or 25% is the security premium. Now here, company receives 125 from the shareholder. 100 only credited to share capital account, and remaining 25 is the capital income of the company that has to be credited to security premium account. And how to use that security premium account, that has been prescribed under the provisions of Companies Act. Now issue of shares at discount. Company can issue the shares at a price less than the face value. It is said that the company has issued shares at discount. For example, company issues an equity share of rupees 10 each at 10% discount. The subscriber of a share has to pay 9. 10 into 10%, 1 rupee. 1 rupee is the discount. Out of 10 face value, 1 is the discount. 9 rupees are received by the company. Shareholder has to pay rupees 9 to the company. Company receives 1 rupee less per share, known as discount per share. Now since the share discount is a loss to a company, it is debited, and corresponding credit is given to share capital account because capital issue of face value 10 by receiving rupees 9. Share is said to have been issued at a discount of rupees 1. Now after explaining these 3 modes of issue of shares at par, at premium, and discount, I want to demonstrate how the journal entries gets recorded if the shares are issued at par. The amount received by the company, some amount with application, balance with allotment. Some amount with application, some with allotment, balance with the rest of the installment, 1 installment, 2 installment, or 3 installment at the most. They are known as calls. First call, second call, third call, etc. So this is how the amount is received by the company. How the journal entries gets recorded for this transaction relevant to receipt of share capital by the company. Now let me start that. Now see, accounting entries for share capital transaction. The following journal entries shall be passed in the books of the company in respect of share capital transaction. Observe it now. First I start with share application money. Prospectus is issued. Those who are interested in purchasing shares apply to the company. They have to give application with application money. So application money received is first. That is the first transaction. Share application money received with application is credited to share application account. According to the present provisions of the Companies Act, minimum amount to be called along with share application should be 5% of the face value. So amount received is to be initially credited to share application account. When the share application money is received, bank account debit to share application account credit, being entry for receipt of share application money on, suppose 10,000 shares at rupees 3 per share, like that. Now, the excess application has to be refunded, and the applicants who are allotted shares, their funds, their application money is to be transferred to share capital account, and that is done on allotment of shares, on sanction of application, and that is done by board of directors. Excess application money refunded to share applicants in case of oversubscription. So number of applications received are more than company intends to issue the shares. It is known as oversubscription. On oversubscribed application, the amount is to be refunded. So reverse entry is to be recorded. When the amount is received, bank to application. When the amount is refunded, share application to bank. Share application account debit to bank account. Being entry for refund of application money on share applications that has been rejected. Now, when the amount of application money in respect of shares allotted is transferred to share capital. So those applicants whose applications are sanctioned and they are allotted shares, application money received thereon becomes the share capital of the company. Then at that stage, on allotment stage, the application money for those applicants whose applications have been sanctioned gets transferred to capital. So the journal entry for that is share application account debit to equity share capital account credit, being the entry for transfer of share application money at rupees per share to capital account in respect of shares allotted, number of shares allotted. This is how interest gets recorded for transfer to share capital and refund of excess application money. The share application money can be transferred to share capital account only after the board of directors of the company approves the allotment of shares. Now shares are allotted. If the full amount is not received with application, then amount is demanded at the time of allotment of shares. When share allotment money is called from the shareholders. When you can demand money with allotment, if the full share capital, full face value has not been received with application, then you can go for allotment demand. When the share allotment money is called from a shareholder, when the amount is demanded as a matter of right against share capital, so amount due from members on allotment, that is to be debited to equity share allotment account, and the amount stands credited to equity share capital account. So share allotment account debit to share capital account. This is the amount demanded per share on allotment of shares. They are given prescribed time for payment. Now we receive the payment for the allotment dues. Bank account debit. When the amount due on allotment is received, bank account debit to share allotment account credit. So amount demanded has been received. This is how entry for allotment dues and receipt thereof gets recorded. Now if by this time, if share is fully paid up, then no need to go for next calls, first call, second call, etc. But if still the amount is not totally collected by the company on the shares allotted, company can go for first call, second call, third call, etc. as the case may be. So now, if the amount is demanded with first call to make the shares fully paid up, then only one call is demanded. If the amount of per share is to be made fully paid up by two subsequent calls, then first call and second call is demanded. Similarly, maximum 3 calls could be demanded. If the amount is demanded with first call is made after the receipt of allotment money. Share first call account debit to equity share capital account credit. This is the amount due on demanding first call from the members. Now subsequently they are given some time to pay the amount. The company receives the time within the stipulated time. Journal entry for that. Bank account debit to share first call account credit. Being the entry for receipt of first call money on this many shares at this dispatch. Now this is how allotment and first call demand and receipt is being recorded in journal entry. Same way, when the share second and third call are made and the call is received, journal entry will be passed in the same manner as the 6 and 7. In such case, in place of share first call, you have to write second call. Instead of first call, you have to write the third call, and so on. This is how journal entry for shares issued at par gets recorded. Now I want to talk about calls in arrears. Amount demanded but not paid. The amount demanded with allotment not paid. It is known as allotment in arrears or calls in. The amount demanded with first call not received. It is also known as calls in arrears. How to write the entry for calls in arrears, and when the amount is subsequently recovered, how the entry gets recorded. If the interest is charged on the outstanding amount, how the interest on calls in arrears gets recorded. That is the next point of concern to us. Let me start. Just observe. Some shareholders fail to pay amount due on allotment or calls on or before the last prescribed date for payment by the company. Such unpaid amount is known as calls in arrears or unpaid calls. The other name is unpaid calls. Now see, for unpaid allotment money, if the allotment dues unpaid by a shareholder within the time prescribed, what is the entry? Calls in arrears, amount recoverable is your asset has a debit balance, so calls in arrears account debit to equity share allotment account credit. By writing this entry, the allotment account gets closed because amount received is credited to allotment account, amount not received is also credited to allotment account, so share allotment account gets closed and calls in arrears account stands with a debit balance. For unpaid calls, so calls are in arrears for the first call demanded but not received, second call demanded but not received. What is the entry? Calls in arrears account debit to equity share first calls account, equity share first call account credit, or equity share second call account credit, or equity share third call account credit, as the case may be. By crediting in this fashion, the equity share first call account gets closed, second call also gets closed, but the calls in arrears account stands with a debit balance in the books of accounts. Now see, on receipt of calls in arrears, when we receive this outstanding amount recoverable from members, when it is received, bank account debit to calls in arrears account credit. So subsequently, when the amount is received, bank account debit to calls in arrears account credit. This is how it gets recorded. Now see, interest on calls in arrears. The amount is unpaid by members, say for 2 months, 3 months. Then interest is charged. How to record the entry for such interest? That's a point of concern to us now. Company can charge interest on calls in arrears as authorized by the Articles of Association. Table A is applicable if the Articles of Association are silent. As per the table, a maximum interest 5% per annum is to be charged on the calls in arrears for a period, notice it, from due date of call to the date of actual payment, from the due date of call to the actual date payment. For that period, interest is charged. Now this interest is charged from whom? From a member. So when interest becomes receivable from a shareholder, shareholder's account debit to interest on calls in arrears being income credited. Now shareholder has to pay the unpaid calls in arrears, unpaid amount of call, and the interest thereon both together are to be recovered. So when that amount is received, bank account debit to the amount received. 2. Calls in arrears, unpaid calls are received, and over and above, the interest is also received. For that, shareholder's account was debited, so shareholder's account gets credited for interest due received. This is how entry is recorded for calls in arrears received with interest. Reporting of calls in arrears in the balance sheet. Calls in arrears are reported in balance sheet by way of deduction from called up capital. From called up capital, if you deduct calls in arrears, you will get the paid up capital. Called up capital of the class of the shares to which it relates. Thus, the called up capital less calls in arrears is a paid up share capital. This is how calls in arrears journal entries gets recorded. Now the next option. The amount, part of the amount is demanded with allotment, and amount yet to be demanded with first call and second call. But Some shareholder or any shareholder may pay first call and second call in advance at the time of allotment. Then such prepayment received by a company is known as calls in advance. How the journal entry for calls in advance gets recorded and how it gets adjusted when the first call and second call gets due. Observe it. Sometimes company receives money in advance of calls yet not paid by you. Thus calls not due but paid by a shareholder is known as calls in advance. Now such calls in advance is received. So first call received in advance at the time of allotment, second call received in advance at the time of allotment, or second call received in advance at the time of first call. This is how advance money could be received. When the calls are received in advance, bank account debit to calls in advance account credit. Calls received in advance are transferred adjusted to the relevant calls account. When calls have become payable, journal entry for transfer is to be now seen. Calls has been received in advance. At the time, first call is received in advance at the time of allotment. Now that amount stands in the account of calls in advance from the date on which the amount has been received till the first call is made. When the first call is made, the shareholder who has paid in advance need not pay me once again. At that time, the adjustment entry is to be made of transferring calls in advance, calls received in advance to amount due against first call. Observe it. Calls in advance account debit to first call oblique final call account credit. So this is the adjustment entry gets recorded. When the first call gets due, the amount has been received in advance is now no longer advance. So it gets transferred to amount recoverable against first call. Calls in advance are reported under the title of share capital as a separate liability and not added to the capital, paid up capital on the liability side of the balance sheet. This is how it gets reported. Now I want to talk about interest on calls in advance. Interest is payable by a company on calls in advance as prescribed in the Articles of Association of Company, either at the rate prescribed in the Articles of Association or the rate fixed by directors under the Articles of Authority. Table A prescribes 6% per annum rate of interest for calls in advance which is applied where the Articles of Association have failed to provide for it. Unpaid interest on calls in advance credited to respective member account shown as a current liability in the balance sheet. Now let us talk about the entries for that. Interest on calls in advance. It's by expense. Expenses are debited. So interest on calls in advance account debit to shareholder account credit. Being interest on calls in advance payable. When the payment is made, bank account is to be credited. Shareholders account debit to bank account. This is how entry gets recorded for payment of interest. Now calls in advance is also explained to you. Now I want to record or mention the entries. How the journal entries gets recorded when the shares are issued at premium, when the shares are issued at discount. That's the next point that I want to consider. Observe on the screen. Shares issued at a premium implies that the issue price of shares is higher than the face value. The excess of issue price for the face value is called the security premium. For example, if the share of 100 issued at 125, it is said that the share have been issued at a premium of 25 or shares have been issued at 25% premium. The legal requirement for application of share premium, Section 70 of the Company Act prescribed how the share premium receipt could be utilized for issue of fully paid up bonus shares to the existing members, to write off the preliminary expenses of the company, to write off the expenses of underwriting commission or discount allowed on issue of shares and debentures of the company. So these are the losses. To write off such losses, you can apply the security premium account. To provide for any premium on redemption of redeemable preference shares or debentures of a company, so redeemable premium on redemption of preference shares, that is also one type of loss that can be adjusted against the security premium income. Thus, use the security premium for the purposes. The use of security premium for the purposes other than prescribed will be treated as reduction of capital and which is not permitted unless in accordance with the provisions of the Companies Act. So it has to be applied for the purposes specified and prescribed. You cannot use it, say for the purpose of giving dividend like that. You can't use it. Now, this is about security premium, but yet journal entries are left. The premium on issue of shares is a capital receipt, hence credited to security premium account. That too, it has to be recorded on due basis. Very important point. Security premium has to be recorded on due basis, not on receipt basis. And it being not a part of face value of share capital, cannot be credited to share capital account. And similarly, it is not a revenue receipt, it cannot be credited to profit and loss account. But the amount of security premium has to be credited to security premium account on due basis. Security premium account is shown on the liability side of the balance sheet under the title of reserves and surplus being capital income. Security premium can be collected by the company with application or with allotment or with calls, but normally it's collected with allotment. Now the accounting entries I want to take care of. The full amount is payable with application. Security premium received with application. Then it is received with application. So bank account debit to share application account credit. On allotment of shares, share application account debit to share capital account credit with the nominal value of the shares allotted into security premium account with the premium on shares allotted. This is how security premium account gets credited in this fashion when it is recovered with application money. If the amount is payable in installments either with allotment or first call, assuming that the premium is demanded with the allotment money, when the amount is demanded with it, it is to be recorded on due basis. So, equity share allotment account debit with the total of nominal value and premium both are to be debited, both together should be debited as allotment dues and allotment account is to be debited to share capital account to security premium account. This is how security premium gets credited on due basis. Allotment money is due, it has been debited on due basis. This is how entries for security premium gets recorded. Now I want to talk about shares issued at discount. What are the legal provisions are there for? And the accounting entries there against. Observe the screen and read with me. Company can issue shares at a price less than the face value. It is saying that the company has issued the shares at discount. For example, if the company issues equity share of 10 each at 10% discount, the subscriber of a share has to pay ₹9 to the company. Company receives ₹1 less per share, shown as discount per share. When the shares are issued at discount, the share capital account is credited with the face value and discount allowed. Difference between the face value and the issue price is debited to a separate account known as discount on issue of shares account, and the same belongs to a loss of capital nature written off in future years. Particulars of discount allowed on issue of shares and the balance of discount on issue of shares account not written off. as at issue of prospectus must be clearly stated. So this is the requirement to be reported in the prospectus. Now I want to talk about the conditions for the issue of shares. Issue of shares at discount must be authorized by the ordinary resolution of the company in general meeting. Resolution must specify maximum rate of discount but not exceeding 10% of the face value of shares, or such higher percentage as may be sanctioned by the central government under the special circumstances for the issue of shares at discount. So maximum discount could be 10% that could be offered. Company can issue shares at discount only after sanction is obtained from the central government. Only that class of shares which have already been previously issued can be issued at discount by the company at discount. So if company is issuing capital for the first time and no such type of shares have been previously issued, company cannot issue shares at discount when initial issue of shares, when the shares are issued initially, first time. Company cannot issue shares at discount unless it has completed 1 year from the date of receipt of certificate of commencement of business. So the date first is incorporation certificate, then shares are issued to the public, then business commencement certificate is received, then 1 year should have passed. After that, company can issue shares at discount. Shares must be issued within 2 months from the date of sanction of the central government or with such time extended by the central government. So after obtaining the sanction from central government for issue of shares at discount, it must have been issued within 2 months from that date. Now, journal entries. Journal entries relating to the shares issued at discount will be as under. Discount on issue of shares is brought into the books of accounts at the time of allotment of shares. Notice it. So, share discount gets recorded at the time of allotment. How is recorded? Share of 100, suppose issued at 10% discount. Then 10 is the discount is to be recorded at the time of allotment. Because with application you are going, suppose if you receive the full money, you receive only 90 rupees with application per share. And 10 is the discount granted at the time of sanction of application, allotment of shares. So it has to be recorded at the time of allotment of shares. So share allotment account debit, share discount account debit to equity share capital account. Now see, discount has to be recorded at the time of allotment. In the previous illustration, received with application 90, bank account debit to application account credit 90. Now the entire amount is demanded with application. So what is the entry? Share application account debit 90, share discount account debit 10 to share capital account credit 100. But if the amount is recovered in installment, some amount is received with application, bank to application, application to capital. Now the allotment dues are paid. The discount gets recorded with the allotment dues, when the amount face value is collected in 2 installment with application and with allotment. Here it is recorded with allotment dues in the presumption that the amount is recovered, face value is recovered in 2 installment, part with application and balance with allotment. And when the balance is recorded with allotment, the discount entry gets recorded in this fashion. Debit balance of discount on issue of shares account is shown in the balance sheet on the asset side. Under the heading of miscellaneous expenditure, expense is not written off, it can be written off against the security premium account or by charging to profit and loss account over a period of time. This is how reporting and accounting of share discount account is to be done in future. Forfeiture of shares. Now, calls are in arrears, allotment dues are in arrears, company writes reminders for payment of these dues, shareholder, member is not paying. What company can do? Company can forfeit the shares. What is the meaning of forfeiture? Observe it. Failure to pay call money due is an act of breach of condition on the part of shareholder. This empowers the board of directors under the authority of Articles of Association to forfeit those shares of the defaulting shareholder. What do you mean by forfeiture? Forfeiture means take away right, property or money of somebody. Take away right, property or money of somebody on default being conducted by him. It's a contractual right to forfeit. Forfeiture is not a legal right. In case of legal, it is known as confiscation. But in case of contractual right, it is known as forfeiture. Procedure. Forfeiture procedure should be as prescribed by the Articles of Association. Notice before forfeiture must be given to defaulting shareholders, giving him an opportunity either to pay or being heard for non-payment within the time prescribed, not less than 14 days. So, before forfeiture, you should give an opportunity of being heard. Why has he not paid the amount of calls demanded by the company? He should be given a right to present himself for non-payment. And that time should not be less than 14 days. After that, the company can forfeit the shares in good faith. Resolution for forfeiture or others may be passed exercising the authority under the Articles of Association under good faith and in the interest of the company. Such forfeiture decision should not be biased, it should be in good faith. What is the effect of forfeiture? Right, title and interest of shareholder extinguishes. Suppose that share of 100 each. Shareholder has paid total 60 rupees. 40 rupees calls are not paid. So his right, title and interest on a share of 100 that is lost. Amount paid by him to the date of forfeiture is not refunded. So 60 rupees paid by him is not refundable now. That's a forfeiture income. And right to receive the amount due but not received from a defaulting shareholder is lost. Now share of 100, he has paid 60. He has already paid 60, that is forfeited, not refunded, becomes the income of the company. No, the name of that income is share forfeiture income. Now what about 40 recoverable in the books of accounts? The 40 unpaid calls in arrears, which are recoverable as per the books of accounts, on forfeiture, they become non-recoverable. Now company can never recover that calls in arrears. So this right to receive the amount due but not received from the defaulting shareholder is lost. So these are the effects and consequences of forfeiture. Now we are required to account for all these consequences, and after forfeiture of shares, the same shares could be reissued by the company to another person. So how to write the reissue entry? At the time of reissue of entry, some concession or discount may be granted to a new member, to a new would-be member from share forfeiture income, and the balance of share forfeiture income gets transferred to capital reserve account. All these concepts which we are going to discuss in detail with practical illustration, wherein theory and its practical application both are taken together, and that will be done in subsequent session. Journal entries for forfeiture and reissue of forfeited shares has been explained in detail with theory in sum number 20 and 21 of exercise. So, not to have a repetition of theory, this theory discussion has already been concluded in sum number 20 and 21 of exercise that has been discussed with theory in detail, and its practical application also has been explained. If the shares are issued at premium, premium is received and forfeited, premium is not received and forfeited. If the shares are issued at discount and the shares are forfeited, if the shares are issued at par and forfeited, after forfeiture these shares are reissued either at premium or at discount. How the accounting entries gets recorded, that has been discussed in detail while solving these two sums, and you can learn theory and observe its application in the exercise sum number 20 and 21. I feel that you have followed all these things. Thanks to all.